Here we are. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the premiere today. I'm so excited. The premiere of Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanic Show. Yes. Are you biting your nails, Bob? And
Yeah,
we are here on Cosmic Guardians, and it's me and Bob, Mr. Bob Eden, great guy. We will eventually, once in a while, have the honor of having the presence of Karine, but she cannot be on today. So she's usually busy on Fridays. And today is no, it's not Wednesday. It's Friday, October 4th in US and Europe, and it's Saturday, October 5th in Australia, right? So it's PM my time here in Sweden, and it's early morning for you. It's AM, right? 7 a.m. And
yeah,
yeah, you're tired, right? Today we're going to talk about the power of words, and I think that's more powerful than we usually think about. It's nice to pay attention, to be aware of what you actually are saying to yourself and to others. Plus, we take your questions, so feel free to ask questions in the chat room. And if anybody wants, I always say that nobody ever wants any. We can also give a short mini reading if that's something someone wants to ask a question, a psychic question.
yeah. I'll have one
Not
of those later.
absolutely. Last show on Cosmic Guardians was Wednesday, October 2nd, and Cosmic Sisters show. So we had to name our show now because we named yours, right? With hosts Anne and Corinne, and we talked about divine bonds, the dance of sacred spiritual relationship. And that's interesting too, because there's a lot of fluff in this world that doesn't really, um, usually spiritual talk and spiritual life and the way of living. There's a whole lot of common sense in that too. It's not everything is not fluffy, right? So we can come a long way with common sense. If you missed our last show or want to catch up with any of our past episodes or check out upcoming episodes, connect with us or read more about us, you find us at angelplaceonearth.com/cosmic guardians. And you can find me there and you can find Bob there. You can find Bob at angelplaceonearth.com/Bob Eden, and he has so many things he's doing, links. He has a YouTube. You can sign up for his newsletter. You can buy one of his books, and he's really interesting, so go over there and check him out. We always go live at facebook.com/cosmic guardians and youtube.com/at angel place on earth. Now finished with the talking, right? So let's dive into today's topic. Hi, Bob. I'm so happy to have this premiere with you. How are you?
Nervous, excited. It's a little bit excited. I could be more if I wasn't so. I don't know. Yeah, it's a new venture for me, and I'm interested to see where it will lead. Where it will go. It will either live and thrive, or wither away. But I've got a feeling that it's gonna live and grow. And what I find encouraging about it is I've never done a regular video log. And notice I said video log and not vlog, because that's another example of one of the corruptions that I see in our society is the destruction of our spoken language. Now, video log I can understand, but vlog, what does that mean? Um, I think there is, in the society that we live in and that we consciously or subconsciously support, there is like a program in the background that's trying its hardest to to stop us being creative, to stop us speaking our truth. Um, one thing, one thing I'd like to sort of talk about for me, like until telepathy kicks in, my spoken word is the only way I can communicate to other people, other than a bit of
Yeah.
body language and stuff. And I don't know how many words there are in the English language, and I only choose English because it's pretty universal across the planet. But what I've noticed is a trend in our society over the course of my life where the system is corrupting the language we use. And it's got really, really bad since people started texting and SMSing, and they, they're cutting words down and abbreviating. Like, are you okay? That's just an R, a U, an O, and a K. But, how can I put it? What's happening in our society is like if an artist has got his or her palette board with all those colors on there, and what our society is doing with the language is like it's taking half of his colors away, so he can't paint such a pretty picture using using all the words and the fullness of the words, like poetry. Poetry is can paint beautiful images through the use of lovely words, but nowadays, what's a poet going to do in 10 years' time? You can't write a poem using SMS or text talk, can you?
No, it's something that comes from the person. We actually have a lady here that wrote something for us. I'm going to tell you so I can put up the comments here. This is from Angela. Yeah, I made it. Thank you, Bob and Anne. And this is another one. She said, I find this important information for my future poetry. Yes, it is. It's about language, how we express ourselves, right? It is
Yeah,
important. Yeah.
yeah. It's vital for me. I realised with my real eyes, if you like, many years ago now, that the words I consciously choose to use create my reality. And so uh, I I now place my words with surgical precision, and it's taken 20 years of practice, and it's because I keep practicing. I'm becoming much better because I know the consequence of every word has an energy, and for me it's all about energy. The energies I put out into the
Yeah.
universe, into our society, they create my reality. So if I'm talking gloom and doom, that's what I'm going to create. But if I talk joy and ascension and finding personal truth and yeah, it's so uplifting. So much of our society is aimed at useless chatter. People are
Yeah.
talking about, oh, the latest football game, or my neighbour's got a new lawnmower, so I got to get a new one. What?
Yeah.
How is that sort of conversation going to aid our ascension? You know?
Yeah. No, it's not. And Angela says, I think you can see it because I put it up there. If you
Yeah,
see, yeah.
yeah,
I try to write my heart. She's very good at poetry, to be honest. You're wonderful, Angela. And also have people read between the lines, so to speak. And it is important. And I think that, how we speak to someone else, express ourselves, and how we even speak to ourselves, because I'm telling myself a lot of stuff. If I tell myself, I'm not going to make that thing, I'm not going to be able to do it. I put the limits on it
yeah.
from the beginning,
Well,
right?
yeah, a classic example for me of casting my own spells was in that simple phrase that I changed, like the KISS principle. Everybody sort of knows it as keep it simple, stupid. And I thought, well, no, I'm not stupid. I may be silly, but I'm not stupid. So that's why I changed it to sovereign. And it changes the
That's
whole energetic of that phrase. Keep it simple, sovereign. Because I believe we're all sovereign, you know?
Yes. Yeah, we are. We are.
Yeah.
But coming into that also, sorry for my voice, because we are a product until we reach that point when we become aware and when we want to kind of um, knock down the veil, moving through the illusions, right? So we come from what we have been taught. And I think we are living in great times because I didn't experience so intensely in the past that the world is changing so fast. I think that many are starting to question things, and I think that's good because we come from the place where you're supposed to say that, and certain cultures, for instance, they are terrible. I'm saying that and I'm laughing. Uh, Iranians, for instance, they take 2 hours and they make a joke out of it. They say themselves, it takes 2 hours from they put their clothes on, they are at the door and they are saying goodbye because there are so many things we need to say that doesn't really mean they just come out because you're supposed to say them and you are unpolite if you don't say them, right? But I think that being authentic and saying things. And sometimes, even if someone is going through a situation, maybe you don't need to say so many things like cliches and things of that nature, right? You just need to be there for them, listen, right?
Well, I think for me, as far as my right to free speech, which I exercise magnificently, is there's only one law that is in place for me there. Whatever I say is do no harm, and and by that, um, that is followed by there is no judgment here. All I am doing is sharing what's present for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I'm sharing data, um, and how anybody else perceives that, however they take it on board, however they react, that is their choice. I'm not. Uh, yeah, it's their choice. I'm not responsible for people's feelings. You know, um,
Exactly. Exactly.
and this trend over the last 20 years towards political correctness, for me, polit, can I borrow your teeth? Political correctness is the epitome of codependent behavior, and
Yeah.
it's the absolute antithesis of free speech. You know, how many
Yeah.
people are out there are wandering around with their truth floating around in them, and they hear it and they notice it, but then through this programming, oh, I can't say that because it's going to upset somebody. I can't say that, da da da. Um, and so they lie or they withhold their truth, which is just as bad. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that Angela says also authentic is key. And it is. And if when we are authentic and the best version of ourselves we can be, and we come from the place of love, we can say almost anything, right? There's always a way of expressing things, being real, a real person.
Yeah. I'm not here to be nice. I'm here to be real. Deal with it. Hey,
Yes.
yeah. And thank you, Angela, for your comments.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful. And this is what it's all about for me. Is just people sharing from their heart, sharing their story. Because for me, my story, which consists of lots and lots and lots of words, it's actually the only thing that I possess in this life. You know,
Yeah.
it's my story, my life experience, my lived experience, and everything else is just denial for me. You know, and how authentic? What does that mean for me? Uh, Authentic self. I think that just came about by me reclaiming my belief in myself, because by doing that, I can then reconnect to my inner knowing, my intuition or my inner tuition. So for me, that's what being authentic means, is just sharing my inner knowing, my inner tuition. That for
Yeah.
me is being authentic.
And I think that's the most beautiful thing we can do because when we are sharing with authenticity and our true self, nothing can actually go wrong because that's going to come through, it's going to shine through,
Well,
right?
it's again, yeah, again, it comes back to the KISS principle: keep it simple, sovereign. Whatever I've experienced in my life is part of my story, you know. And so when I'm sharing my story, nobody can say no. You can't, you can't do a MythBuster on it. You know, you can't gainsay it because it is true for me. It is inviolate. You know, and only I can change my truth, and my truth does grow. The journey to discover my truth is and discovering my truth is an organic process. It's an organic process.
Exactly. And Angela says sovereign for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
what does sovereign mean? Again, keeping it simple. For me, I am sovereign, which means I am my own kingdom, you know, and I have my own borders, my boundaries, and I am responsible for everything that goes on within those boundaries. And boundaries are for me essential. People need to get used to setting boundaries. You know, it doesn't have to
yeah.
be nasty. You know, so look, when you do that, you know, I really feel uncomfortable about that. You know, you don't have to say yay, you know, and start judging people and throwing labels and names at them. Just stand quietly in your truth, and nobody can take it away. No, nobody can take
No.
the truth away.
You know how many times I've heard people say, you can't say that, or you can't say no. And I just say, okay, come here, come closer. Says who,
Yeah,
right? Because if I don't feel for doing anything, why would I force myself to do it? There's no reason for that, right? Doesn't mean that I'm going to be bad, but I can meet, and setting boundaries also means that we pick and choose. Maybe everything is not because we can't. Today, in this world, we are exposed to being so busy. We are having phones, we have all these apps, we are going to be on all the time. But that's not leaving any space and time for us. So I think we need to be calm down a little bit and pick and choose things, right? Prioritize certain things.
yeah. Well, for me, this behaviour is endemic in our society, and again, it comes from childhood, where, like in my childhood, I had to walk around on eggshells in case I triggered mum's explosion, you know.
Oh,
And so that, how many people? There must be billions of people with that same sort of mindset. Oh, I can't say that because it's going to upset somebody, or they're going to attack me, or you know. But and that's a journey to nowhere. It's
yeah.
being strong enough to stand in my truth and share my truth. And so a lot of people find me blunt, but I don't waste words. You know, I don't get into like verbal diarrhea and waffle on about bullshit. You know, it's the truth is always simple. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So Angela says again, my life is an open book. It's empowering when you live a sovereign, authentic life, not responsible for how being myself makes someone else uncomfortable. Exactly. I peacefully walk away from the lessons, even the ones I don't resonate with.
yeah,
Yes, we don't have to jump into every kind of situation, but there's a common theme in the world in general that you're supposed to, and people try to drag you in. But I'm like that too. So I just say, okay, no, I'm picking and choosing not to jump into that because that's my choice. right?
Well, one of my insight posters or memes that's really a good signpost for me in my life is whatever is not nurturing for me, I simply call the beast, and I no longer feed the beast. So whatever it is, if it's not nurturing for me, then I don't give it any of my time, attention, or energy. You know, I'd rather give that to things that are uplifting for me.
Mm.
And in our society, so many people are choosing their life path, their career, or their vocation simply because this one pays the most money. Uh,
Yeah.
where is the love in that? You know, where is the love in doing that? There
You
isn't.
know, no, there isn't any because you are doing something just to gain the money, and money actually is ruling our world. The money can be very, very handy, but money is still just an energy, a tool, right?
Well,
So we know,
yeah,
yeah,
I
go ahead.
yeah, I prefer chasing. Well, no, I prefer manifesting abundance, not money.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because abundance is a much richer word, and it involves not only money, quality of life, having fun in life, enjoying passion, feeling a sense of feeling rich within you, right? From
Mm,
experiences, from being where you want to be,
yeah,
right? From
as,
from
as,
loving yourself,
as
everything.
yeah, as an example of me manifesting abundance in my life, you know, I'm just a pensioner, but I've got more toys than I've got time to play with, you know, and and also abundance in friendships, abundance in community, abundance in the biggest source of my abundance in my life at this moment is communing with nature and looking at nature and noticing the gifts that are all around me that can help in my own healing and ascension because you know, they're all out there in nature, but they're also
Exactly.
all in here in my own inner nature or nurture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about nature too, and animals. I love animals. Um, in Greece, we have a lot of cats. I think we have 9 or 10 cats. We have geese, we have ducks, we have hens, chickens, and you can actually communicate with all of them, but they have their own style. They don't talk like we do.
Mm,
There's a different language, but I love that.
yeah. And just making some beautiful comments, especially about like
Yes.
being authentic.
Yeah.
Why would you not be? You know, why would you not be yourself? By not being yourself, you're decrying the reason you were born, the reason you were created was to be your beautiful, unique self. And because I believe that we're all sovereign, unique, and equal, people are afraid of an argument. But for me, there are no arguments. There's only difference. Like
Yeah.
you, on your journey, you're discovering your truth and you're sharing your truth. And that's great for you. And I'm doing the same thing. And hopefully, lots of other people are doing that. And so there's no argument, there's just difference, you know?
Yeah. And if you are really loving someone, you accept them as they are. It doesn't mean that you share maybe always the same ideas or everything. That's a different thing, right? But you do accept them, right? For who they are.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Um,
just going to throw a few poison arrows into the conversation. I'm just thinking about phrases that I've heard during my life that were really, really wounding for me. It's like when I went to secondary school, I was already, I'd been, I couldn't, I've been singing all my life, you know. And so I got in the school choir. And at the age of 11, I could, just on my own, I could drown out the whole of the school choir. And my school teacher, Mr. Trevor Neese, and I still remember his name, said to me one day in front of the whole school choir, Robert, you'll never be able to sing. You're slightly flat and blah, 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 blah. And I just felt so wounded, because singing is, for me, is authentic. It's an expression of art. And so I found that phrase really, really wounding. And then I'd love to connect with Trevor. He's probably passed on now. But my singing, I've sung my way around the world. I've sung my way 8 times around Australia. You know, um, I've been in hundreds of bands, and this is my 60th year as a paid stage performer. So that was one phrase: "You'll never be able to sing," by my school teacher. Yeah, and then
Yes.
the other wound phrase I actually got from my mum was, um, well, she never forgave me for the scar on her belly, and she often said, "If it wasn't for you kids, I could be out there having fun."
Yeah.
So,
Angela says, "What a beautiful soul you are." But Angela says Ben, but I think she means Bob. You know, a loved child has many names. That's an expression from here. So
mm,
you have a lot of names then. That's beautiful.
yeah, you could call me whatever you like, just don't call me late for dinner. Yeah. Um, Also, I find our language is dotted with what I call non words. And
Yeah.
these are, for me, they are should, would, could, ought to, or got to. And all of those five expressions there, they all decry conscious choice. People say, I should do that. And I say, why? And they say, I don't know. You know, so why are they going to do something when they don't know the reason why? They haven't made a conscious choice. They've just gone along with their programming because that's what their programming is telling them to do. And there's two more words that really need attention for me is people that are not used to using I statements. And so they hide behind words like we and you. Now, because we're all sovereign, unique, and equal, I have no problem speaking to the we, speaking to the collective, but I have no mandate or authority to speak for the we, for the collective. And then I often hear phrases like, when you do this, you feel like this. And then I'll check in with myself and think, well, the last time I did that, I didn't feel like that at all. So,
Mm.
who is this you that you are talking about?
Yeah.
And so I would encourage everybody just to practice the use of I statements. This is what's happening in my life. This is how I'm feeling, and this is how I am dealing with it. You know,
Yeah.
and I often hear this phrase, "Oh, no, you're wrong." And I'll put my hand up and say, "Well, how can I be wrong when all I'm doing is sharing what works for me? How can that be wrong?"
Yeah.
And
But
that
I
shuts.
think I have to chime in here. I'm getting eager as always, right?
Good.
So, a lot of what we have been taught in this world, we are put into frames and boxes, right? So this is how we are supposed to manage something, or this is what we're supposed to do, right? 100 people did it this way, and that worked for them. But we are all unique and
Mm.
sovereign, as you say. So what did work for those 100 people doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for me, because maybe I have my own way of doing things, right?
Well, for me, everybody has their own unique way of traveling this path of ascension. And all like the old chestnut, all roads lead to home. That all roads lead to Rome, but all roads lead to home. And the crux of the hero's journey, from what I can gather from it, is I've just crossed the savannah and the plain, and I'm heading towards this big forest. And I get to the edge of the forest, I get to the tree line there, and then I'll see a pathway, through the forest, and I know that, yeah, that's the pathway of somebody else. I have to cut my way through the jungle and make my own way. And it's that challenge of cutting your way through the jungle. And it's going to take work. Or
Yeah,
you can follow the path that somebody else has led, but it won't resonate with your heart because it's not your path, it's not your journey.
exactly. Or maybe you take a few steps on someone else's path, and then you see, I need to turn a little bit left or right here, right?
Yeah. Like my heart is my only compass and my intuition is my only guide.
Yeah. So, Angela here again. We love you, Angela. Thank you for being here. So, you are keeping us busy. We love the conversation. Angela says, I picked up branches in my community to help people trying to pass. The same neighbor said, that's not your job. I said, my soul is happy we are alive. I am next to Cedar Key, Florida. Oh, I hope you're okay. Um, I know that you have had some the Hurricane Helen in the US, right? So everything is okay with you, I hope, right, Angela?
I
And
went, yeah,
yes, please, Bob, go
I
ahead.
went, I went to Florida once. I was engineering officer on the cruise liner, the Canberra, and we popped in, and we were racing. I think it was the QE2. We were racing the QE2 across the Atlantic, and the QE2 should have, just beaten us by days, but she had engine trouble, boiler trouble halfway across, so we actually got into Fort Lauderdale early, and we were able to, put a thumbs up to the QE2 as it came in late. Yeah, we beat you, we beat you. And I went ashore and I thought I'll try this veggie burger because people are talking about vegetarian, vegetarian. So I bought this absolutely gorgeous looking big hamburger and worked my way through it. And about half an hour later, I was violently sick. My my body has said, "I'm not having any of this."
Yeah, and I think that's another part we don't listen because our body doesn't express itself with words, but it does express itself, right?
Yeah,
So
with behaviours, it
yeah,
it
all we need
expresses
to do
itself.
is listen,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
mm, yeah, and oh, that's one of the biggest challenges that I have in my life is I'm really, really good at listening to my body, but it's only when I ignore it that I get into trouble. But I know I'm supposed to, with my natural remedies, I'm supposed to be taking my chlorine dioxide 2 or 3 times a day. But for the last week, whenever I tried to take it, my body just throws it up again. So, okay, I'm slow. I'm a slow learner. I get the message. I'll stop taking this for a while because you're telling me you don't need it.
Yes, exactly. And I have a very recent story, and I'm I'm laughing when I'm saying it. My intuition told me not to go out with the bicycle, and I still did it. And then you know what I ended up with, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so I know, but it's sometimes, and it's a beautiful story for me. It may sound awkward to some people, but it is to me because we all go through things that happen. Life happens for all of us, with no exception, right? And things that we are not really in control of. A part of me was in control, but I didn't listen. But anyway, so I had my accident and I broke my leg, but I had three doctors standing. beside me. Isn't that a blessing? So it's like I was told by guides in the universe that, okay, you messed up here, but we have your back, right? Can you
Yeah.
see
Well,
that?
yeah. Well, the way I look at those events, those, that sort of event, every event I create in my life holds a lesson. And um, so the question I would ask you, or ask you to ask yourself, like, I've created this event in my life. What is the lesson I need to learn from it? And for me, the answer for you is like, okay, you went against your intuition. Next time,
Yes,
don't.
exactly. No, exactly.
That was the lesson that needed to be learned there. By
Yeah.
you created that event so that you could learn that lesson. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
And Angela says, Bob, you are so right. Thank you, Angela. I'm going to put the last one up here. Yes, you are so right. Yeah.
Well, for me, how can I put it? For me, I live in a feeling universe, not a thinking universe, because I experience this life through my senses. You know, I sense the warmth of the sunshine on my skin. I smell the sweet tang of the rotting mangoes. I hear the kookaburras as they laughingly sing in a new day. So I experience this existence that I create through my feelings. So this sort of global belief of I think, therefore I am, I think that was discarded, is absolutely the opposite of what is true. You know, I feel, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very right. You're very correct. Uh, we have all our senses, and this world have taught us that we're supposed to use the logic and our mind, but we have all our senses and we need to feel things. And, our very core and our soul is in the heart chakra and area. So that's where we have our core. That's where we can go within. So we listen to our heart and we go with that. And we can use our other senses in a good way, but not let them overdo it, right?
Mm. But again, it's another programming thing in our society, isn't it? It's like, it's the reason why there are more male suicides than female suicides, because men are cut off from their feelings,
Yeah,
and the society
exactly.
supports them in that. You know, the feelings I had when I had my panic attack back in November '84 were so overwhelming. I didn't know what to do with them, and my only recourse at that time was to get into the Western medical model, and then take these um, toxins, these antidepressants, that were designed specifically to cut me off from my feelings. So by going down that pathway, I'd actually cut myself off from my only pathway to healing, which was through feeling.
Yeah.
And once I
Be,
made
be,
that realization, and I realized that the power of those feelings that I was having was nothing to be afraid of. It was just a measure of how powerful I really am as a human
yes.
being. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And society and traditions and culture and conventions of the world, that's what I call them, are telling us as a woman you're supposed to be this way, as a man you're supposed to be this way. Men are not supposed to cry. Men are not supposed to be showing emotions in that way or feeling into things very deeply. But I think we are growing away from that, and that's a blessing. That's really good because we need to understand that we are sensitive beings. We are souls having a human experience.
Yeah, I can remember a time I was on the crew of the Lewin 2 sail training vessel, and we were off I think we're up near Broome on the coast of Western Australia, and just about to go back in, end of voyage. And so the last night, the crew put on what is known traditionally as a sod's opera. It's where the people get together and they put on a little show for the captain, and even the captain joins in as well. And so I remember picking up the talking stick and just started to share my story. Uh, and I was stood there probably for about 10 minutes with just tears of joy streaming down my face because of the experience that I'd witnessed of all these people that have, through the facility of the vessel, um, had life changing experiences. It's like they recaptured a bit more of their belief in themselves. Like, no, I can't sail a tall ship. That was 10 days ago. To now, yes, I can, but I can't do it on my own. I need the help of the rest of my crew. But I was just streaming tears, and the captain came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, Bob, a beautiful presentation, but a little bit less with the tears next time." So it's like
Okay.
me being authentic triggered his programming.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
And I actually think that that's interesting that you say that, because I think when we are stepping out of the ordinary way, trying to find our path forward, doing things differently, listening to our heart, we do trigger some people. We
yeah,
do.
yeah. But that's not my responsibility. It's how they respond is their choice, which leads to the biggest. Thank you, Angela. Ditto. Um, for me, it all comes down to taking personal responsibility for one's life. I am master and commander of this life that I do create, and I
Yeah.
take full responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And if everybody adopted that as a mantra, what a wonderful world! What a
It would
wonderful
be
world it would be. Yeah,
it would be fantastic. And also, like, I think you mentioned something here in the comments. I can't really find it. Like, when we think about the past and we invite things back into our lives because we can't release them, right? The past has gone. So what we need to do, we need to understand, is there something I can learn? Can I release that so I can free myself, right? Instead of continuously doing things. And I think it's my way, it's my perception of things, right? When we encounter troubles, we need to talk to someone and we need to get things out of our chest. Yes, we do. But many times, like you talked about your depression, Bob, like we can get caught up in a loop where we are stuck in that thing, like taking pills, talking about the same thing for many, many years. And that's not constructive and that's not going to lead us forward. It's going to hold us in that bubble, right?
yeah. Something I learned from the reevaluation co-counseling community, which I trained in the 90s, was that this little phrase, only once across the chopping block. You know,
Yeah.
share your distress, great, share your distress, but don't live it. Don't keep regurgitating it. Um, crying on your own is is helpful, but having your sharing of your expressing of these emotions, having it witnessed, having
Yes,
it
that's the
witnessed
key. Yeah.
is so powerful. And for me, my primary role as a counselor is just to stay centered in love, and all I can offer is my acceptance and validation of whatever that person is sharing in that moment at moment, you know, so that no, you're not being crazy, you know, by and I reckon the best medicine for that I would like to market would be to franchise a load of places in every town in the world where you can go and lose the plot, where you can just go in there and there's a load of bean bags on the floor and there's all these sort of foam on the walls so that the sound won't get out. And you just go in there and let your body do what it needs to do and scream and shout and you know, just because this is another way that your body's getting rid of distress, you know. But
Yeah.
people living in the mind, oh, I couldn't do that. If people see me doing that, they're going to lock me up and throw me in the loony bin. But it's simply the body trying to heal itself by getting rid of distress, and it's not going to do it in a nice, polite manner. You know, so many people, and I still am. You know, um, I wouldn't release these feelings in a supermarket because they probably would drag me off. Yeah, but it's for me. It's all about expressing feelings and what was it? Above all else, be true to thine own self, and that's
Yeah.
supported wherever I look. You know, the kingdom of heaven resides in each of us. I believe that,
Yeah.
and I also believe in the Christ message, which is, "I am the way, the truth, the light." Yes, me here, Bob, me,
Yeah.
and you,
In
and
here.
you,
Yes.
and you,
Yes.
and you. So by finding your own heaven on earth within you, that's it, isn't it? You know, discovering
Yeah.
that heaven that's within.
And there's a beautiful way of expressing that. To say to yourself, I am that I am, and that's powerful. That is you talking to your higher self.
Yeah. Well, I added a bit to that, as I tend to do with my uh, precision choice of words. Is I am that I am, and I am content.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
You have a very special and wonderful way with words.
So do you.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Some of those things you've written, you know, about the shows and what's going on, are just yeah, beautiful. For me, you've written the best bio about me that I've ever seen. You know, so
Oh,
thanks
thank
for that.
you. But
Thanks.
I think for me as well, that's a part of me. It comes because I let the flow. I just start off with something. Maybe I have only one sentence or two words or something, and then when the flow comes, I just keep on writing.
Yeah, well, precisely, and that is why with every concert I do or with a show I do, I don't write a script. You know, I don't put down keynote things, blah 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 blah, because I now trust in my own process and know that when I'm in the flow, whatever needs to present itself will in a
Yeah,
timely manner. You know,
yeah.
so I don't have to worry about did I talk about that? No, it's just the conversation flows, and when it stops flowing, that's the end of the conversation.
Exactly. You know what? I do the same as you, but I do keep show notes, and I tell you why, because there are a passage in the beginning. I want to express those things without
Oh yeah,
forgetting
yeah,
them. And
yeah.
at the end, and I always keep an article that I've written, and but I never read that. I just go with the flow because I feel that when we have the energy, that's also energy going, right? It comes, it flows. It's a wonderful natural flow,
Mm,
and there's nothing to be afraid of in that. It's just coming.
yeah. And it's for me, it's all about belief in oneself. You know, I got my belief in me beaten out of me as a child, and talking about the past, you know, I have no regrets over my past. Every step I have ever taken, however painful, has brought me. to where I am today here in
Mm.
contentment. You know? But the realization that I had is, yeah, this is my past. I can't change it. I do not want to change it. But I just had a feeling that I could go back and heal my past. And that work was monumental. Healing the wounds of my childhood was the
Yeah,
most monumental, fundamental, and powerful work that I've ever done.
exactly. But you did it as an adult and you didn't bring that back after, right? That's beautiful. I can tell you that I was really, I think I told this before. I was really fortunate when I was younger. I had very young parents. In those days, I was born 64. They had to marry. So my mom was 18 years old and 2 months. My dad was 19 when I was born. 2 weeks after he turned 20, too young, both of them. So they were married for 3 years. And then I grew up with my great grandmother until I was 8. She died when I was 10 because she broke her leg and ended up in the hospital and she had a stroke after. But she was actually, those years that I had with her were a real blessing to me. And then I had my grandmother, a redhead with freckles and a big mouth. And I think I got something from her too, right? But actually, with my own mom, I always had a very complicated relationship. But I released her to be because we don't really connect because I can't deal with it. Relationships are always supposed to be meeting each other. Sometimes maybe I'm going to come more your way. Other times you're going to come with me, but we always have to work together. I tried for so many years to fix that relationship until I realized that it's not only up to me. So
Yeah.
no shame, no no feeling guilty or anything, just leaving it as it is, right?
Yeah. Well, for me, I didn't really have a relationship with my mother. I mean, just to keep out of range. And it wasn't until I actually told her my story of how I felt as a child growing up in our family and asked her to share her story that I was able to forgive her for for her behaviours, because when she shared her story, I realised that yes, my mum was doing her very best, but all she could do was dump on me what got
Yeah,
dumped on her. And so by
yeah,
sharing our stories, I could move from hate through understanding back to love. And it was
yeah,
just through sharing our stories. And that's why I believe it's so powerful and it's so simple. If everybody just sat down around a campfire and with a talking stick, turn by turn, shared their stories, we help to heal each other, which is the MO of my support group I run on the mend, healing by sharing our stories. That's
yes,
all it takes to
yes,
heal the planet. Just sit
yes,
down and share your story.
exactly. But sometimes you need to have there are different ways, right? Sometimes you need to have the other person also be willing to listen. And if
Oh
they
yeah,
won't listen,
yeah.
it's nothing to do about it, right?
That is such a good point. And there's a great uh, TED talk um, on YouTube called "The Power of Listening." Um, but it's also, this goes back tribal. When people gathered every week in the village hut to discuss things, they'd have a sharing ceremony, and whoever was there picked up the talking stick if they wanted to and shared what was present for them. And so this is like a contract. When you enter that sort of arena, when I'm sharing, it is my responsibility to just share my heart centered truth. But the responsibility of the listener is to listen with the heart and not hear with the mind.
Yeah,
So if people are hearing with the mind, there are thoughts going on like, oh yeah, I like what he said there. Oh, that was good. Oh no, I didn't like that. That if he keeps on like this, I'm going to have to interrupt him and put him right. And so that's hearing with the mind. But listening with the heart, the only response basically is, thank you for sharing so much. I now know you a little better. Mm,
Exactly.
yeah.
That means that you don't put any of your judgments or value into it. You just listen.
For me, God is my only judge. Who am I to judge anybody? I don't, I
I
can't.
don't think that anyone is going to judge us anyway. I think we are
I don't
just
care.
I I don't believe in that. There's no one sitting on a throne and punishing us when we go to the other side. We merely grow through our experiences. But sometimes I also question, why do we have? Because the soul is already perfect. I don't really know. That's something to dig into. A good question, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, my only judge if is my heart. I know
Yes,
within me if I've done something wrong that's not true to my path.
yes,
Oh no, and I feel sick inside because I've strayed off my path, and that core essence within me knows that I've done wrong. So I need to
yes,
put myself back on track.
exactly. So you
Yeah,
are your own judge. That's
yeah,
it.
mm, yeah. Ah,
So
I
I
don't.
thanked Angela, and she said she had to go, but
Yeah,
she's thanking us so much for including her. I think she was a delight to have on, right?
yeah, yeah. Shame we couldn't get her on the StreamYard thing. Maybe that's something that we could explore in the future. Do
Yeah,
like,
we can ask her to be on with us,
yeah,
right?
or 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 offer that facility to like anybody else that comes along and sees us through Facebook or wherever. Like, would you like to come on the show and add your spice to the cake? Because I think that's all that we are doing. Everybody in this journey of ascension, we're getting there just by making a beautiful cake with all these
Yes,
different spices.
and the beautiful thing of sharing stories is that even if many stories may, at a surface level, appear very similar, there's always a difference, and there's always a way of expressing it that's going to align with someone so they can relate to it, right? So if you are wording it differently because you are unique, right? And you have your own touch to your own personal story, it's always going to bring someone something, always.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I started this show today, I didn't think it would last for more than 10 minutes, and yet here we are. You know, and I was like dead as a dono at the beginning, and now I'm feeling I'm not nervous anymore. I'm not frightened anymore. Uh, my energy level has gone up, and it does with every conversation I ever have. By sharing what's present for me in the moment, I always end up being lifted because it's a way of it. By sharing is a way of discharging any heaviness
Yes.
or distress that I might be carrying.
Plus, it's a beautiful exchange of energy.
Yeah,
That is beautiful. I love that part.
yeah.
Mm. I have a suggestion for you, live on air, right? You talked
Okay.
about the power of listening. Is that something you could consider a show?
I don't know. I'll ponder on that. I, one of the words I try not to use anymore is think. I won't think about it. I'll ponder it.
You
And
ponder it. Good.
what I mean for that is, an idea will come in. And for me, I like to work in pictures. So for me, I'm looking at a pot of alphabet soup that's just coming to the boil. And then the letters come up to the top and give me the answer. So it's a process that takes a while to come up with the answer. Whereas if I'm going to think about it, then it's almost a snap programmed response rather than a considered, no, it's a snap reaction rather than a considered response.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, it's been pretty
Mm.
deep this morning, hasn't it?
I think you are very deep and I'm very deep too. And I think that, it's a beautiful thing to share. Even if one say things also coming back again at a surface level, they might sound familiar. Heard about that before, but it's always leading to something else, and we are always touching someone. And I think that is each and every person walking on this earth, no matter what they have been doing, if they would have the courage, they have story to tell, each and every one, right?
Yeah, the image I get is that because we're all suffering unique and equal, everybody holds a piece of the puzzle, the jigsaw puzzle. And
Yes.
and until you start the journey of discovering your own truth, your piece of the jigsaw puzzle is brown on both sides. But once you start accumulating your own truth, you start coloring in your own piece of the puzzle. And so
Yeah.
the more authentic you become, the more complete that piece of the puzzle gets. And so when you put your piece of the puzzle down on the universal table, the bigger picture becomes clearer for everyone. So as we go
Yeah.
on this journey of ascension, the big picture is becoming clearer because so many more people are finding and sharing and living their truth.
Exactly. Exactly. Well said, Mister.
Uh, I think on that note is probably a good time to close this beautiful conversation.
Yes, and thank you. And I'm just doing my ordinary end of show announcements, right?
Yeah, no
So
worries. I'm not going anywhere.
I know you are, and I'm so happy for that. So you have been watching Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanic Show on Cosmic Guardians with hosts Bob and Ann discussing the power of words. We just love that, right? Our next upcoming shows on Cosmic Guardians will be on Wednesday, October 9th with Cosmic Sisters show and host Anne and Corrine welcoming special guest Alvina talking about Masaru Emoto's Odyssey, the sacred dance of water, the water crystals, and the spiritual part of that. That's quite interesting, to be honest, because water is something very interesting. And we are going to be back next Friday, October 11th. Yes, October 11th, Saturday. I have to remember to say Saturday, October 12th in Australia, with Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanics Show, and me and Bob discussing when the crying stops, you will be free. And that is also very intriguing, isn't it? Because it's true. Plus your questions, and we do love to interact with you, and that's why we're here. So don't hesitate to be in the chat, and we thank Angela so much today for being with us. We do go live. I'm going to remind everyone again on facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians and youtube.com/at Angel Place on Earth. You can follow and join Cosmic Guardians group on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Cosmic Guardians. And of course, you can find us at angelplaceonearth.com/Cosmic Guardians. So you find all of us, right? Me, you, Corrine, Adelina, and guests and past shows and upcoming shows and everything. So I am so happy for doing this with you. And thank you, Bob. It's always a pleasure. And thank you all for watching us. Thank you for watching Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanics Show. And see you soon. And I will say love, light, peace, and joy to you. And what will you say, Bob?
I think you're amazing.
Thank you. I took it to myself and to everybody else, right? And we say bye.
See you, folks.
See you.